Scorpio, something is being said about you, and it's not just a passing whisper. A big rumor is spreading, and whether you asked for it or not, you're at the center of it all. But what no one expects is this: the truth behind it will not only shock others, it will liberate you. If you're watching this right now, it's not by accident. Something in your spirit has been nudging you, something that defies logic but knows what's real. And that something has brought you here. Welcome to Miracle of the Sign, where the deepest truths are not shouted, but revealed, where your intuition is not dismissed, but honored. Lately, have you felt a strange pressure around you? Maybe you've sensed quiet conversations ending when you walk into a room. Perhaps smiles that once felt warm now feel rehearsed. You can't quite explain it, but your soul already knows. Scorpio, this is your divine radar activating, because you feel energy before you ever need to hear words. The rumor that's circling your name has nothing to do with guilt and everything to do with your growth. Not everyone can handle the weight of your presence. Your light disrupts illusions. Your stillness demands truth. And in a world built on fragile facades, that alone is enough to make people uneasy. You are not being targeted because you're weak, but because you're becoming impossible to ignore. Pluto, your ruling planet, the gatekeeper of transformation, is in harmonious alignment with Neptune and the full moon. Spiritually speaking, this is a cosmic exposure point. Hidden truths are surfacing. False masks are cracking. And the people who smiled the longest may soon reveal the intentions they never voiced. But let's be clear, the truth doesn't need to be chased. It reveals itself to those who are still enough to witness it. And you, Scorpio, are being called to stand in that stillness, not as a passive observer, but as a witness to what God is now bringing into the light. I want to say this before we go any further. Thank you for being here. Truly. Thank you for choosing to spend these moments in reflection, truth, and spiritual clarity. Every comment you leave, every like, every shared whisper of resonance with this message helps not only this channel grow, it helps this community of awakened souls grow with you. You are not just watching. You are participating in something sacred. So if anything I've said so far speaks to something you've quietly known, I invite you to comment below and simply say, "I feel this in my soul." That's your way of affirming alignment, your way of letting heaven, and this space, know you're awake to what's happening. And I promise you, Scorpio, you will want to stay with me through every second of this video. Because what the universe is about to show you isn't just gossip. It's revelation. It's clarity. It's a mirror held up to both your power and your pain, and it will change how you walk from this day forward. Now, take a deep breath. Settle into this space. The truth you've sensed is already on its way to you. Let's begin. There are moments in your life, Scorpio, when you walk into a room and feel something change before a single word is spoken. The air feels thick. A glance lingers too long. A conversation ends abruptly. You can't quite explain it, but something inside you tightens, instinctively alert. That feeling isn't paranoia, it's perception. What you're sensing isn't about what's being said, it's about the energy trying so hard to be hidden. You see, a rumor is rarely just words. It's an energetic ripple, a vibration that slithers through the spaces we inhabit, unspoken but deeply felt. And in your case, it isn't the rumor itself that's dangerous, it's the truth that your light is revealing, and that's what makes others uncomfortable. Scorpio, you were never meant to be invisible. Your soul vibrates at a frequency that exposes what others want to keep hidden. You don't even have to try. Your presence is a mirror. It reflects back to others the parts of themselves they haven't healed yet. That's why even when you're kind, thoughtful, quiet, some will still perceive you as a threat. It's not because of what you do, but because of who you are. This isn't new. You've seen this pattern before. You shine a little brighter, stand a little stronger, and suddenly someone nearby begins to pull away or talk sideways. The truth is, some people aren't upset with you. They're unsettled by what you represent. You are evidence that transformation is possible, and that's terrifying to those still clinging to their old masks. When your vibrational frequency rises, when your self-awareness deepens, and when your inner healing begins to radiate outward, it automatically disrupts stagnant energy around you. According to the law of attraction, like attracts like, but when you start evolving, you begin to repel what no longer aligns. That's why the rumors don't stem from what you've done. They stem from what you've become. You've grown. You've stopped apologizing for your boundaries. You've stopped over-explaining your intuition. You've stopped making yourself small so others could feel big. And that kind of authenticity threatens the illusion of control that so many are still trapped inside. Imagine the rumor like a fog rolling in, not dangerous because of its content, but because of how it clouds the clarity others once had about who you were. But clarity is your gift. It always returns. You see through illusions, even the ones cast by those who smile at you with hidden sharpness. And now, more than ever, you're being asked not to chase the source of the noise but to anchor yourself in the stillness of knowing. That's where your power lies, not in defending yourself, but in living so truthfully that the lies crumble on their own. You don't need to explain your side of the story. Truth has a pulse. It finds its own way to rise, even through walls of doubt. This is the invitation. Instead of reacting to the rumor, return to your center. Instead of dimming your light, turn it toward yourself. Ask, who am I becoming that my growth feels threatening to others? Then bless that question. Because if your presence alone is enough to stir the unhealed in others, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Growth is not a performance, it's a frequency, and Scorpio, you're vibrating on a whole new level now. Have you ever felt that strange tension, the one where someone smiles at you but it doesn't reach their energy? Have you ever sensed an undercurrent of discomfort when you walk into a room, even though no one says a word? Comment below if this resonates. Your intuition is not overreacting. It's awakening. Trust it. You don't have to fight the whispers theory, just proof that your truth is being felt more loudly than they ever expected. Scorpio, your intuition is not a tool you occasionally reach for, it is the quiet current beneath everything you are. It pulses with ancient knowledge, subtle yet undeniable, and it has always been with you. Even when you doubted it. Even when others dismissed it. Even when the world tried to convince you that what couldn't be seen couldn't possibly be real. But you know better. You always have. There's a reason why your energy shifts before the room does. A reason why you can feel a lie hiding inside a compliment. A reason why your body stiffens before betrayal arrives. That's not fear. That's wisdom speaking in whispers. In astrology, Scorpio is the sign of depth, the deep sea, the unspoken truth, the psychic thread between what is shown and what is meant. You do not navigate the world through appearances. You read undercurrents. You listen to silence. This is not a flaw. It is your divine design. Your ruling planet, Pluto, rules what is hidden, what must transform, what must die and be reborn. And so your intuition doesn't just alert you, it initiates you. It pushes you to let go of facades and lean into the knowing that lives beneath them. Especially now, as the energy of the number 7 symbolizing spiritual awakening and divine perception moves through your current season. This is not a time for external validation. It's a time for deep spiritual trust. In the tarot, you are represented most powerfully by the High Priestess. She sits in stillness, veiled between 2 pillars, holding the scroll of hidden wisdom. She doesn't chase answers, she becomes the vessel for them. You are being asked now to sit in that same energy, to trust the knowing before the facts arrive. Your power lies not in proving your intuition to others, but in believing it for yourself. There is a sacredness in quiet knowing. And just like the woman who reached out to touch the hem of Jesus' garment, believing that would be enough to heal her, your belief alone activates what needs to be activated. This doesn't mean you won't feel doubt. It doesn't mean the world around you won't try to drown out your voice with noise. But it does mean you must anchor deeper into yourself. You don't need more information. You need more silence. Silence is where your answers live. Silence is where you return to alignment. Each time your body tightens around someone's energy, each time you feel inexplicably drained after a conversation, write it down. Don't edit it. Don't try to explain it away. These are your intuitive signals, and they are never wrong. You're not being too sensitive. You're being spoken to in a language the world forgot how to understand. To protect this inner knowing, create space for it to breathe. Set aside even 5 minutes a day for stillness. You don't need incense or mantras or moonlight. Just breath. Just presence. Just you. This space is not about doing. It's about remembering. And when the world feels too heavy, protect yourself with color indigo and deep violet. Wear them. Surround yourself with them. These colors vibrate with the frequencies of the crown and third eye chakras, enhancing intuitive perception and shielding energetic boundaries. When you dress in these hues, you're not just wearing color, cloaking yourself in resonance. Scorpio, you do not need a sign to confirm what you already feel. You are the sign. You are the confirmation. Others may ask, but how do you know? And your answer can simply be, because I feel it. That is enough. That has always been enough. If this part of your journey resonates with you, if you felt this kind of quiet inner truth lately, comment below and affirm it. Say, I trust my intuition. Let those words become your prayer and your promise. You are not lost. You are deeply guided. Trust the voice within you. It's not leading you away, it's leading you home. There comes a point in every sacred transformation where silence becomes more healing than explanation. Scorpio, you've spent so long holding your tongue to preserve peace, softening your voice so others could feel comfortable, dimming your presence so no one would feel threatened. You've stayed too long in rooms where your energy was drained, smiled through moments when your soul was whispering that something wasn't right, and gave your presence freely to those who only wanted your light, not your truth. You didn't do this because you were weak. You did it because you hoped. Because you believed that peace, even if uneasy, was worth preserving. But the truth is, when you have to sacrifice yourself to keep the peace, it's no longer peace. It's a performance. And it's time to take the mask off. What you are feeling now is not collapse. It is emergence. You are not losing connection, you are reclaiming alignment. This phase of your life is not about retreating in shame, it's about stepping back with sacred clarity. You no longer need to prove your value to anyone who couldn't see it when you gave your all. Walking away is not a weakness. It is a divine act of discernment. In numerology, the energy of the number 9 surrounds you now, a number of closure, of wisdom, of preparation for rebirth. It signifies the final chapter of a karmic loop. And the beauty of number 9 is that it never ends in absence, it always flows toward a deeper beginning. So when your heart tells you to pause, when your spirit starts whispering, enough, honor that voice. The retreat you are called to now is not a fall. It's a holy exhale. It's the nervous system finally unclenching. It's the soul resetting itself after too many compromises. One of the most healing things you can do in this moment is give yourself permission to step away from the noise, not to run, but to remember. Remember who you are when no one is watching. Remember how your energy feels when it's not being negotiated. Remember that you have the right to protect your peace without explanation. In practice, this looks like clearing your phone of connections that no longer resonate. You don't need to block in anger, just release with clarity. It looks like taking one quiet hour a week, no voices, no screens, no distractions, just you, your breath, your presence. This is not indulgence. This is maintenance. Sacred maintenance of your energetic boundaries. It is in this stillness that your true healing will deepen. Not through external validation, but through the internal safety of your own presence. So many people associate stepping back with failure. But not you. Not now. Your spirit knows better. You were never meant to burn out while trying to be understood by those who weren't even listening. You were meant to pause, reset, and re-emerge brighter. Like the moon, you don't lose your light, you simply cycle through phases. And now, you are entering one of the most important, the phase of remembering how powerful it is to choose yourself, quietly, without the need for applause. There is no shame in closing a chapter that no longer holds truth. There is strength in saying, I've gone far enough in this direction. It's time to return to myself. And when you do, everything begins to shift. Not because the world suddenly changes, but because your relationship with it does. What once hurt you deeply now teaches you clearly. What once pulled you out of alignment now becomes a reminder of where not to return. And what once made you doubt your worth becomes the very lesson that anchors your new standard for love, for energy, and for peace. Scorpio, you are not disappearing. You are not retreating. You are renewing. You are returning. You are rerouting into the version of yourself that never asked for permission to be whole. And in that space, quiet, grounded, unshaken, you become unstoppable. If you feel this moment in your life, if you know you're being called to step back in order to rise again, leave a comment below. Say, I'm coming home to myself. Let those words be your gentle declaration that your journey isn't over, it's just beginning, on your terms, at your pace, with your soul fully intact. Scorpio, your heart has always longed for depth. You don't do surface level. You never have. You feel things intensely, love completely, and when you commit, it is soul deep. But with that beautiful emotional intensity comes a vulnerability that only a few understand and even fewer deserve. How many times have you found yourself giving to someone who never truly reciprocated? How often have you extended grace, offered loyalty, initiated forgiveness, even when your own spirit was bleeding quietly beneath the surface? You've sent the first message. You've apologized just to make peace, even when you did nothing wrong. You've shown up with full presence to people who only ever met you with half of theirs. This isn't about weakness. This is about a sacred capacity for love. But Scorpio, not everyone is built to hold what you offer. And your journey now is not about fixing that, it's about recognizing it and making a different choice. Choosing yourself isn't rejection. It's not coldness. It's not pride. It's a holy turning inward. It's a decision born from wisdom, not woundedness. It is what happens when you finally understand that love should not cost your inner peace. In astrology, your sign is ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth. And right now, that energy is inviting you to shed the final layer of needing others to validate your worth. It's time to let go of the quiet hope that if you just give more, they'll finally see your heart. You've been seen, just not always honored. And there's a difference. Self-love, for you, is not about spa days or luxury. It's about boundaries. It's about recognizing when your energy is being siphoned and having the courage to say, no more. Not out of bitterness, but out of deep reverence for the life force within you. The law of attraction teaches us that what we allow, we amplify. When you keep making space for people who cannot meet you, you attract more of that dissonance. But when you choose to align your energy with truth and clarity, you open yourself to relationships that nourish rather than drain. This is where the practice begins. Write yourself a letter. Not a list of resolutions, but a sacred vow. One line is enough. From this moment forward, I no longer need to earn love by losing myself. Let those words sit on your heart. Let them echo in your chest. Let them become the seed of a new season. Then, take 3 minutes every morning or whenever you feel yourself bending too far and sit in stillness. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart. And whisper, I am not being abandoned. I am being set apart for my own protection. Feel how your nervous system softens. Feel how your soul exhales. You may be walking away from someone right now, or from a version of yourself that tolerated too much. Either way, this departure isn't selfish, it's sacred. In numerology, you may be passing through a 7 or 9 cycle, both deeply spiritual numbers. 7 brings introspection and divine connection. 9 signals endings, forgiveness, and release. Trust the cycle. Trust the call to return to yourself. There's a quiet revolution happening within you, Scorpio. You are no longer available for relationships that require you to dim your intuition, suppress your needs, or twist yourself into something smaller just to be accepted. The ones who are meant for you will never make you feel like too much. They will meet your depth with reverence. But until then, you are Aloedno, Invitetto, choose you. Every time. Without guilt. If this message reaches something real inside you, take a moment and leave a comment below. Say, I choose myself today. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your activation. Your choosing is not a closing off, it's the opening of something divine. You are not just stepping back. You are stepping into alignment. And everything begins to change from there. When all the noise fades and the storm of opinions quiets down, what remains is not the rumor, it's you. Not the story someone else tried to spin, but the truth your soul already knew. Scorpio, the hardest truth to accept is often the simplest. Not everyone can handle the purity of a soul that refuses to be manipulated. The rumor isn't the problem. The discomfort others feel in your presence isn't your fault. The truth is, they saw your light, your clarity, your unwavering presence, and it unsettled them. And when people feel threatened by something they can't control or understand, they react. Sometimes through words. Sometimes through silence. Sometimes through shadows they hope you'll never notice. But you did notice. You always do. In the world of tarot, the Judgment card represents this moment. A reckoning. A calling. A spiritual confrontation with the truth that can no longer be avoided. The ones who created the whisper networks, who shaped narratives without your knowledge, they weren't just talking about you. They were exposing the fractured mirror they carry inside. The problem was never you. It was the way you held your head high without needing applause. It was the way you showed up fully in spaces where others were still hiding. And in that contrast, their insecurities had nowhere left to hide. But here's where your power expands even further. You do not need to respond. You do not need to correct the lies. Your energy has already spoken. Your presence has already illuminated what was trying to stay hidden. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to become so anchored in your truth that their stories fall away like dust in the wind. This is not arrogance. This is sacred authority. This is the knowing that lives in your bones, the kind of truth that doesn't ask to be defended, it simply is. What you are being called into now is the quiet clarity of sovereignty. A path where you no longer over-explain, over-justify, or overcompensate. A life where your actions align with your values, and your peace is non-negotiable. Let your energy walk into the room before your words do. Let your silence be your strength. And when others look your way, confused by the calm you now carry, let them wonder. You owe no one an explanation for the way you protect your light. The most radical form of self-care in this season is to live clearly. Hydrate your body. Avoid what drains your nervous system. Nourish your brain with what supports you. Omega-3s, greens, grounding foods. Start your morning with 5 minutes of stillness, letting the residue of other people's opinions slide off your skin like mist. This isn't retreat, it's energetic detox. It's how you cleanse not only your body but your frequency, so your intuition can lead without interference. And when the urge comes to confront, to correct, to prove your side, pause. Remember who you are. The people who believe in you don't need convincing. The ones who gossip about you don't need correction, they need healing. And that healing is not your job. You are not here to rescue others from the discomfort of your authenticity. You are here to be real, radiant, and rooted. So if you've ever had to step back just to protect the integrity of your spirit, if you've ever had to walk away in silence while others filled the air with noise, I invite you to comment below and say, I choose myself today. Let those words be a blessing over your own journey, a sacred line drawn in the sand. You are not here to be repeated. You are not meant to be understood by everyone. You are meant to be fully, deeply, unmistakably you. And in that, you are already free. Scorpio, if you've made it this far, it means something inside you is already shifting. Not because you suddenly became someone else, but because you're finally returning to the version of yourself that doesn't need to explain, to chase, or to shrink. And maybe that's the real miracle, that even when the world tried to distort your story, your soul kept whispering the truth. You were never lost. You were only being guided back to where you truly belong. So let me remind you again, you're not being left out. You're being set apart. There is a difference. One comes from rejection. The other comes from divine protection. The things that felt like isolation were actually alignment. The doors that closed were never your doors to begin with. The people who turned away were never meant to walk with you into the next chapter. And the silence you've been sitting in? It's not empty, it's sacred. It's a space of becoming. A space where healing happens without noise, where peace is no longer something you beg for but something you live in. You haven't lost anything essential. In fact, what's being restored to you now is something that no one could take: your clarity, your dignity, your direction. You're not weak for walking away. You're wise for knowing when enough is enough. You're not invisible. You've simply outgrown environments that were never built to hold your full light. And no, you're not being dramatic or sensitive for sensing what others can't say out loud. You're intuitive. You're attuned. You're chosen. The rumor may still be spreading, but the truth is louder. It lives in your energy, your presence, your unwavering gaze. You don't need to defend it. Just live it. Live with intention. Live with compassion. Live with boundaries that honor your spirit. And ask yourself, what would it look like if I stopped asking for peace and started embodying it? What could change if I no longer apologized for taking up space? Who might I become if I stopped settling for almost and started choosing what is true? Let those questions linger in your heart. And if you feel them stirring something deep inside, I invite you to share that below. Comment, "I'm returning to myself," if you know this is your season of coming home. Let that be your affirmation. Let that be your declaration. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt from a truth the world can't touch. And I see that in you, even if you're still learning to see it in yourself. Thank you for allowing me and Miracle of the Sign to walk with you in this sacred moment. Thank you for choosing your inner world over outer noise. For every like, every comment, every subscription, you are helping this soul-led space grow, and together, we are anchoring healing in the lives of many. Your support isn't just appreciated. It's deeply felt. It's what keeps messages like this reaching the people who need them most. So if today's message found you at just the right time, if something in your spirit said, "This is for me," then stay with us. Subscribe to Miracle of the Sign, and let yourself be reminded that healing isn't something you have to chase. It's already chasing you. You just have to make space to receive it. The truth is, a big rumor may be spreading, and you may be at the center of it all, but Scorpio, the real truth is about you. And it's this: you are the one no one can replace.